Well, hello there, YouTube, and welcome to Friday's edition of The Breakfast Club with Got That Funk. Thank you for joining me. Sorry I wasn't here yesterday. I was traveling back from California, and now I'm back here in Old Blighty, and glad to be back, although I had an absolutely fantastic visit with family and friends back home. Listen, I'm going to keep this video as brief as I possibly can, but it is a kind of important issue, although thankfully it's been kicked into the long grass. That actually gives us more time to sort of digest its implications, and I'm quite glad for the delay, whatever the rationale behind it. More or less ever since Donald Trump became the United States president, he said that he wanted to do sort of flash American military muscle in a military display parade. Which kind of, harkens back to the Soviet era and also obviously Nazi Germany and other dictatorial regimes around the world have often flaunted their military might in public displays, possibly as a message to the rest of the world or their neighboring countries, as much as to their own country, to say, look, we've got all this shit, don't try anything. You can't escape. We're the boss. And when I was in school growing up in the Cold War, we were explicitly taught that military parades were inappropriate in a democracy, with the possible exception of, if you win a war and you want to have a parade for the soldiers coming home, that kind of thing. But basically, displays of might are, undiplomatic because they're sort of viscerally, implicitly aggressive, whether or not they're actually aggressive. And I don't think they're really necessary as well if you're already well known to be the most powerful nation in the world. Why do you need to show it all off to everybody? It's an understood fact. So there's that. But here's something that I don't hear getting discussed about this potential military parade, which has now been postponed until 2019 due to spiraling estimates of what the cost will be. I might talk a little bit more about the cost in a minute, but one thing that I see not getting discussed is, how will this parade, if and when it ever happens, how will it be handled by the media? Are they going to participate in the sort of Americana propaganda that the parade is intended to portray? Or are they going to observe it in a neutral way or in an adversarial way? The way the press handles the parade is almost as important as the parade itself for Donald Trump. And, the press and Donald Trump aren't exactly best friends. So, yeah, that's the thing. I don't see anybody talking about that. What is the purpose of this parade, in terms of Donald Trump's purpose for it? People say he's just vain and wants to do this to be sort of seen as a comparable great leader to other great leaders, someone to be feared and all that kind of thing. Even when he was campaigning for president, Donald Trump says, you got to be strong, people got to know you're strong, and all that. So I see that as just an extension of, of Donald Trump's ego, but at the same time, I'm pleased that prudence has won the day. The original estimate that I recall for the military parade, when Trump first sort of flashed the idea shortly after becoming president, it was like $12 million. And then that quickly got bumped up to 30 million. And now it's been more than tripled from that. I've read estimates between 92 and 100 million for the parade. And, without even going into the questions of why that has to be. I mean, what sort of parade are they talking about here that's going to cost $100 million? But, this parade doesn't solve any American problems. The parade wouldn't literally make anybody's life any better. It actually caused a lot of headaches for a lot of people. And it would make certain other people a little bit wealthier, I'm sure. But for the most part, this parade's not for us, you and me, And if you're going to spend $100 million of the taxpayers' money, I think it really ought to be easy to identify why it's in their interest that you do it. And I really don't think the parade qualifies as an American interest. It's not for our national security. It's not for, it doesn't help anybody get health care, feed anybody, house anybody. It doesn't provide job opportunities or educational opportunities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just spending government money because it's there, which is also particularly egregious considering all the things they tell us that we can't afford. It's well rehearsed by certain politicians, and I actually agree with this sentiment that, whenever it comes to funding, anything to do with the military, more war, more bombs, that kind of thing, they've always got the money for that. No one ever says, I wonder how we're going to pay for this. But, if it comes to something for the social betterment of the common person, all of a sudden we have empty pockets, and I think that is unfortunate. And what I don't understand is how come the press keeps going along with this narrative. The press is one of the problems we have at the moment, every bit as much as Donald Trump. Now, I don't agree with Donald Trump that the press is the enemy of the people. Quite far from it. I think the press has the potential to save us from this mess. But they don't want to step up for reasons, to do with their own greed. Corporations, I think the 6 major corporations in America own like 90% of the share of American media. So that sort of concentration of ownership means that their interests are going to be, largely financial over necessarily being a public service. But that's a topic for another video. I've strayed way off this one. Basically, getting back to my other point, the way the media portrays the parade, if and when it happens, will be a hallmark of the Trump administration that will go down for generations, whether Trump survives in office or whether he goes down in flames. So it's just another reason I don't want it to happen. I can't think of any good reasons for the parade to happen, but we all know I'm biased, and it's an absolute open secret that I despise President Trump with a passion. I think he's bad for America, and I think he is, just generally speaking, a corrupt and unpleasant person. So there's my opinion. Give me yours in the comment section down below about this whole thing. And who knows? You never know. We might even have JJ Talks back on The Breakfast Club tomorrow. But hopefully Kazum will be here on Sunday if she's not here tomorrow. And I will look forward to talking to you guys again next week. Thanks for listening. Peace.